Most women I know, they know how to lose weight. The problem is they're tired of having to do it over and over. What women really want is lasting peace with food so that they can create the results that they want with the scale and get on with their life. The problem is nobody's really talking about the key pieces that you need to have in place to make that happen. So that's what we're going to tackle today. I've got 4 key areas that you absolutely want to address if you want to get off this roller coaster and create lasting peace with food and freedom from overeating. I'm Dr. Melissa McCreery. I'm a psychologist and the creator of the Missing Peace program at TooMuchOnHerPlate.com. If you're a smart, busy woman, there are a lot of triggers and temptations to overeat. Things like being too busy, being tired, being stressed, having strong emotions and not having the bandwidth or the skill or the just wanting to deal with them. All of these things make reaching for food, including mindless eating just to numb out and avoid what's going on, a huge temptation. All these things which go on in the background of our busy lives can lead to hidden hungers, which have nothing to do with a physical need for food, but can trigger ongoing cycles with mindless eating, stress eating, emotional eating, all kinds of overeating. The more you focus on tracking what you're eating and when you're eating and how much you're eating without paying attention to these hidden hungers that are simmering in the background and triggering your overeating, the more you ignore these things, the stronger hidden hungers become. Take my client Marianne, for example. Marianne was stressed out and overwhelmed. She was trying to juggle a business that had outgrown what she could handle on her own. She had a family, she had kids, she had responsibilities calling her from all directions. She was working long hours, she wasn't getting enough sleep, she was getting no time for herself, and yes, she was gaining weight. In the midst of all the overwhelm and the high expectations that she had for herself, Marianne wanted to control something, anything, and she decided that the place to start was with her weight. She wanted to lose the weight. But no matter how much she pushed herself, no matter how many mornings she woke up with good intentions, she could not stop the mindless eating that was leading to the weight gain. And the more this cycle continued, the more frustrated she got. That frustration then added to her stress and added to her overwhelm, started to zap her confidence in herself, and just contributed to a vicious cycle that made the overeating worse. The more Marianne focused on a diet, the more she felt stuck. I know her story is familiar, and it's a great example of what can happen if you're not paying attention to the 4 key pieces for creating lasting freedom from overeating. Remember those triggers that lead to hidden hungers, that lead to overeating? Things like exhaustion and stress and being too busy. They will not be ignored. And if they are ignored, they are going to lead you to feeling so much worse than you deserve to feel. Here are the 4 keys for creating lasting success, not just with overeating, but also with overload and overwhelm and the cycles that these 3 O's can create in your life. The first thing you need is a plan for emotions, because without a plan and strategies for dealing with emotions, you're going to end up with emotional eating, stress eating, comfort eating, using food to soothe and take care of yourself around strong feelings. So it's important to start looking at how you deal with, how you cope with strong emotions like fear and anxiety. But it's also important to take a look at how you're dealing with other feelings like boredom or celebrating or feeling good without using food. Start asking what you'll do instead of turning to food to get the same result. And don't be surprised if you don't immediately know the answer to this. You might find that you need more tools and strategies for dealing with emotions, far more than you need another diet. This is something that we cover in depth and extensively in the Missing Peace program. The second thing you'll want is a plan for challenges. Things like stress, real-life obstacles, and tough times that can get you off track or get you overeating. Most of us, including Marianne, tend to set up expectations and plans that work best when life is perfect. But we all know that's not the way it goes. Be honest with yourself up front about what challenges you're likely to face and the challenges that you faced in the past as you've worked to create peace with food. What are the tough times of day or the events that tend to get you off track? Don't plan to be super strong or to always get it perfect. Instead, plan realistically and proactively for what you're going to need, what's going to set you up to best be successful, even if life doesn't cooperate. or goes completely sideways. Anticipating challenges, anticipating that you are not always going to be perfect, this can require some mindset work, but it is mindset work that is well worth doing and will absolutely pay off. Okay, the third piece we're going to cover is a big one, and it's one that is often overlooked by busy women, but this is critical to pay attention to. To create lasting results with weight loss and to really end overeating and emotional eating, you must have a plan for feeding your spirit, for nourishing your soul, and giving yourself the things that you need. You need to be nourished so that food is no longer the escape or the pick-me-up or the go-to way of meeting unmet needs. You need a plan for feeding yourself so that food is no longer your way to cope. If you find that allowing yourself the time and the energy to take excellent care of yourself is a struggle, it's time to address it. This is absolutely critical. We teach self-care and how to put the focus on you and how to allow yourself to put the focus on you in every single one of my programs. It is an absolutely essential component of making peace with food and creating freedom from overeating. The final thing that you need and you deserve if you want to create lasting peace with food is a plan for your thoughts and your mind. You need a strategy for moving forward where you can use your thoughts, the way you talk to yourself, your beliefs to motivate you, to inspire you, and to propel you forward. You'll create much better results and you'll overeat less. You'll stay clear of self-sabotage when you do the mindset work to take your power back from your thoughts. That all or nothing thinking, the perfectionism, the stories about how you're never going to succeed or how it's always going to be hard and an uphill battle, or that your results will never last. These ways that you talk to yourself, they get in your way, they make things harder, and they sabotage your results. It's important to pay attention to how you're talking to yourself. Are you calling yourself names? Are you saying things to yourself under your breath or in your head that you would never say to someone else that you love? These things count. They undercut your confidence, and they're all too common. These were big issues for Marianne. If you don't address this, it's likely to make overeating worse and you feel more stuck. The good news is when you do address this, everything gets easier. Making shifts in this area first is how Marianne really started to get traction, how she lost 35 pounds and actually a ton of stress and overwhelm. When we started working together, Marianne wanted willpower. She wanted self-control and she wanted discipline. She wanted to be able to be tougher on herself, and she wanted all of this yesterday. She was so impatient. But the truth is, when we talked about it, she also wanted a lifestyle that flowed, that felt easier, that energized her and allowed her to show up vibrant and excited about what it was that she was doing. Those two things were incompatible. Marianne's biggest challenge was creating a strategy for her mind and her thoughts. She needed a strategy for moving beyond the frustration with herself, the perfectionism that she had, the tendency that she had to set herself up to be too busy with too many expectations and too many things in her schedule, so that she was caught in a cycle of always feeling overwhelmed and always feeling behind. I think you can figure out how the overeating started to fit into this pattern. Along with all of these things, she didn't ever feel like there was time or it was the right time to take time for her, which led to her being frustrated and irritable and over time feeling resentful. And to top it all off, like a lot of us, Marianne had a very difficult time asking for help. So she needed to take control of her thoughts and the behaviors that were cascading from her thoughts, because right now, the inside of her brain, the way she was talking to herself, the thoughts that she was having all the time, it was a very stressful place. When you're in the midst of stress and overwhelm and overeating that's triggered by vicious cycles like this, you don't need more hard work. With Marianne, we started with small changes. We started with small shifts that could start to address these different areas, particularly her thoughts and her beliefs that were leading to behaviors that just weren't good for her. Focusing on this key area, it started to shift everything. As Marianne did this work on her thinking, as she learned to stop beating herself up, as she treated herself with more compassion, as she began to see her needs as legitimate, she started doing more of the self-care and taking more time for herself. And as she started to feel nourished and fed, her joy and her energy, her interest in doing healthy things, all of these things began to flow. This was a process, but ultimately Marianne lost the 35 pounds, and she did it without effort, without forceful dieting. She did it by taking care of herself. The really interesting thing is that once she addressed this area, once she started to shift the way that she thought about change and realized that these 4 areas were all fundamental, she was able to add things into her life that she enjoyed, that fed and nourished her, but that actually helped her lose weight. She was walking more, she was doing more yoga, she was playing more with her dogs and spending more time paddling in her kayak. In my programs, we sometimes talk about where thin begins. For Marianne, getting to thin, it was only a part of the process. What she put in place by addressing these 4 areas that were key to leaving her struggles with food behind, what she put in place added more ease and more flow and got her into a cycle where she was enjoying all the different areas of her life a whole lot more than she was before she started. I believe that you deserve so much more than achieving some number on the scale and then wondering how long you can maintain it. You deserve peace with food and freedom from overeating. So put your focus on these 4 key areas and you will start to create a path towards peace with food that fits you. To get a clear direction on where to begin, be sure to take the free Hidden Hungers quiz. Just click the link and I'll also drop that link below. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and be sure to click the bell when you do so that you'll always be notified when we publish a new video.